Do you know, you've heard of the first and second great awakenings, worldwide awakenings, especially affected all of Europe and the United States. The first great awakening was happening in the middle of the 18th century, and it swept across America in just this unbelievable way. George Whitefield and Jonathan Edwards were the key people God used in that. And when you look at that just sovereign sweep of God's Spirit across our nation, what caused it? What was it? Well, it was first because God breathed across our nation, and people just began to be so spiritually hungry, and they were turning to Christ. But secondly, it was the preaching of these two individual preachers. In fact, George Whitefield, he preached 18,000 times in not 2 years, about 5 years, but 18,000 sermons. And every single one of the 18,000 was about this: you must be reborn. But wait a minute. He was going into the churches and looking at people who had been looking back at preachers for a long time. And he was looking into their faces, and he's saying, you have got to be reborn. Religious doesn't do it. Going through the rote forms of it will do nothing in you. If you want your life changed, you must be reborn. And hundreds of thousands of people came to know Christ, and it literally changed the nature of the whole culture. I think I bring that up because I was actually saved as a very young teenager in the last great awakening, or the last spiritual awakening that is recognized in our nation. The last great awakening or spiritual awakening that's recognized in our nation was the Jesus movement of the early 70s. Now, I was a little teenager in a little rural farm town in West Texas, isolated and backward. And that's where I was in that moment. Now, how could I, 2,000 miles away, be having the exact same experience as the hippie culture on the West Coast, all being saved from LSD and psychedelic drugs and all of the free love lifestyle? I was having exactly the same experience that they were having. And, I was repenting from cussing and hitting my little brother. But I can tell you, it was profound for me. I can only tell you from my experience that the first and the overwhelming sensation after receiving Christ into my own life was peace flooding into my heart. It was one of those moments of awe for me. And so when you take Christ into your life and you make Him the center of your life, the result is that you begin to grow spiritually whole and complete, because the presence of Christ in you begins to heal all the broken and fractured and fragmented pieces of your soul. And so, what am I saying? I'm saying this. You've got to be reborn. I don't care if your daddy was a deacon and your grandfather was a Southern Baptist preacher. I don't care if that's it. You must be reborn.